Would you like to start with Karakia?
Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa panawa te moana. Kia hei hua rahi mā tātou I te rangi nei, taraha atu araha mai. Tātou I ia tātou katoa, hui e tākia.
Hello, everyone. This is Beth Sarmiento, your new AIDS recruitment consultant, and I would like to welcome everyone for today's webinar hosted by Christchurch. And before we proceed, I just want to inform everyone, especially our attendees, about the webinar flow that we're going to follow. So basically, today's webinar is split into 3 parts. First one would be the employer's presentation, where they will be discussing the recruitment processes, which involves reviewing application, ranking, assessment, training opportunities, whether they hold interviews or not on site. Second part would be the RMO representative presentation. They will be discussing about their first-hand experience working with Christchurch Hospital. And then the last one would be the question and answer live session. So since this is a recorded webinar, we would like to inform everyone if they would like to raise a question live, if they can please make sure that their question is clear and concise. And for those who want to do it on a text-based message, then they can use the Q&A function in the Zoom. So yes, we will start, and I would like to turn over the floor to our employer and the RMO representatives for the self-introduction.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Beth. And kia ora, everyone. Welcome to the ACE webinar hosted by Waitaha, Canterbury. I guess we'll just start by going around the table introducing ourselves. So my name is Carl. My name is Carl Hazy.
Can you still hear us, Beth? We've just got a sign to say that Zoom
Yes.
quit.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So that's good old technology. Yes, my name's Carl Hazy, and I'm the supervisor in the resident doctor support team.
Kelly, I'm a PGY2 working here at Canterbury.
Yeah, good everyone. I guess I'm next. My name's Callum Powell. I'm the PGY1. Just sitting in the chat.
Hi, I'm Carol Dean. I'm a consultant psychiatrist, but I'm also an education supervisor here in Canterbury.
Kia ora, ko Karen toko ingoa. I'm medical education officer within the METU.
Hi, I'm Brooke and I am the RDST recruitment coordinator.
Perfect. And you may have seen someone sitting here a few seconds ago who has disappeared. That's Amanda Challenger, who's the RMO workforce manager of the resident doctor support team. Perfect. Okay, so to get started on the presentation, myself and Brooke are going to talk a little bit about things from the RMO unit perspective, or we're known as the resident doctor support team here in Canterbury. And then Karen and Carol are going to take over and talk a little bit about the medical education training unit. And Carol as her role as an educational supervisor. And then we'll hand over to Callum and Kelly to talk to you a little bit about life as an RMO here in Canterbury. Perfect. Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention is we've just got a little video first, which we're going to show you. It's just about life here in Canterbury as an RMO.
He's here to work for different specialties. There's great mentors here as well, and lots of research happening if you want to get involved with that. So it has some great facilities here and great access to things like radiology, and also in terms of like teaching, so we have lots of like simulation sessions, which is really good. And then there's also like a new outpatients building as well. I'm going to stare into that. Hi to everyone.
I came over to New Zealand on my own and initially thought, oh my goodness, what have I done? I don't know anybody. And then I went down to the RDST office a week before I started work, was made to feel very welcome, got told where to find a place to live, where to go out for dinner, what different sports clubs you could join.
You know, we have the RDST and people like that who actually organise a whole week of orientation.
We had a week-long orientation where they were going through things that might be different or might be similar to what we'd been used to at home. When I started on the first few weeks, we had a lot of support from other PGY2 house officers.
They ran through cases, you know, you have a septic patient. It's quite good.
So it was actually a really easy transition.
So there's a real emphasis on ongoing learning at the CDHB.
The METU teaching sessions were really good.
METU provides lots of teaching opportunities for PGY1. All of the house officers come together and we learn about a wide variety of topics from experts in the field.
And there was a really good variety of teaching sessions coming from teaching sessions as well.
I have found the RDST really easy to work with.
They were so helpful from day one, I think nearly a year ago now when I first
in allocating leave and giving you the placements that you preference.
We always know where to go if we've got any issues with anything, or just general life advice.
Special thing that we have in the CDHB is the CTC, so they're the clinical nurse coordinators, and they're actually like really experienced senior nurses who do help deal with situations. I've seen a lot of it before.
These are probably one of my favourite things about the CDHB. Triage all of your jobs on the on-call shifts. They're very protective over the doctors, I think.
Yeah.
So sweet. Supported.
We have PGY2 house officers who wear snazzy H lanyards, which means that they are very willing to be asked.
The NHS and the HSE, that the work-life balance is something I thought I was prepared for a difference, but I wasn't.
The vibe that the central city has and all the things that are popping up, I think it's a really great place to live long term.
It's right there.
I mean, there's a botanical garden. Or something like that. I would just literally go on a half-an-hour walk in the botanical gardens.
New things are coming up all the time, like the riverside markets.
And it's also a really great base if you're interested in the outdoors. There's so much that you can get to.
You can ski one day, you can surf the next day. There's just
So much to do.
I like lots about Christchurch, so I could wave them.
best
Yeah.
decision I've ever made.
Absolutely.
I would highly recommend working at the CDHB. It's very friendly and supportive environment to work in. There's a wide variety of specialties to get involved in, and it's a beautiful city. So you come to the CDHB.
There we go. Okay, I'll hand over to Brooke.
Okay, so within Waitaha, Canterbury, we're made up of around 18 hospitals and facilities, and these include Waipapa, Christchurch Women's and Christchurch Outpatients. They are all based together in our main campus, and then Burwood, which is about a 20-minute drive from the city centre, Hillmorton, which is about a 15-minute drive, and then one of our rural hospitals, Ashburton. And then our resident doctor support team, also known as an RMO unit. So we are the first team that you'll deal with when you receive your offer of employment. So we handle all of the recruitment, onboarding, run allocations, the rostering, leave approvals, after hours run reviews, SECA implementation, and all other matters that relate to your employment. So we are a team of 14, and we are located in the same office as the Medical Education and Training Unit. We like to call ourselves the one-stop shop for anything RMO related. And we believe we are a friendly team and pride ourselves on support for all RMOs in the transition from your TI year into PGY1. Process. So when we are looking for your application and your cover letter, we like to have it quite detailed as to why you want to come and work in Canterbury. So links to the region, so such as your friends and family being here, sporting or cultural environments, also training programs that Canterbury has to offer, and basically why you think Canterbury would be a good fit for you. With your references, these are also extremely important. We do require a minimum of 3 references when we are looking through your application. And when you are going through your ACE, if you do want to come to Canterbury, we do request that you do rank this as your first option.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the runs that are available in the different years. So first year runs you can see here. So we've got acute psychiatry, so that's based over in Hillmorden Hospital. So just about Carol would say 15-minute bike ride on the electric bike from the main campus. We've got acute stroke unit, cardiology, gastro, gen med, gen surge, neuro, so older person's health. So that's those runs are based out at Burwood Hospital, which is about a 15 to 20-minute drive from here. We've got oncology, orthopedic medicine, orthopedic surgery, ORL, ENT, plastic surgery, and respiratory. So they're all the runs available to you as a PGY1. And then as you head into your second year, there's definitely a few more there. So there's a second year cardiology run, got CTS, got community-based runs that are available. So there's several GP practices that are available around the city. We've got psychiatry specialty services and some other second year older person's health runs as well. Got hematology, nephrology, neurosurgery, and opthal as well. There's orthopedic outpatients. So this is split into 2 areas within the main campus. There's OAC, which is orthopedic acute care. So that's just on the side of ED. And then we've got our orthopedic outpatient department, which is over in the older part of the hospital. There's peri-op medicine, rehab medicine. Obviously plenty of relief positions are available in medical, surgical, and specialty. We've also got runs available in some of our rural bases. So we've got house officers that are based out at Ashburton, and we've also got 4 house officers which can rotate out to the West Coast, and then urology and vascular. So in your second year, there are also the option for specialty runs. So these ones are 6-month runs. So we've got pediatrics, O&G, there's ED runs, there's a 6-month OAC OOPD run, which is new. And there's also the 6-month psychiatry crisis resolution run, which is new as well. So if you obtain a position with us here in Canterbury, after you've sent your acceptance letter, we'll send you a link to a Survey Monkey, and you will be able to select your run. So the way it works is you will get a list of run blocks. So you can see here, probably it's very small, but it's listed A to M. And then what you can do is, these are the runs based over sort of like the first 6 quarters of your first and second year. And so you can rank these run blocks in order of which run block you like the most, right down to the one you like the least. And then I'll just go to the next slide, which zooms in a little bit on 2 examples. So block A and block K. So as you can see, they've both got 6 runs there. So that'll take up roughly your first year and a half. So the first 4 runs of your PGY 1 year, and then there's 2 runs there into your PGY 2 year. What that leaves is 2 additional quarters in PGY 2 where you can sort of preference what runs that you'd like to do. And that can be where you plug in maybe like a specialty run that I talked about earlier, or you can preference other runs as well at the end of your first year.
Can you explain what those blocks are about?
Yeah, sure.
So how we arrange those blocks is we make sure that everyone that comes through Waitaha has a really broad experience in their first 2 years. And so what we make sure is that everyone has a general medical run. Most people will have an experience of general surgery, or at least do some general surgical relief. But everyone will do 6 months medicine, 6 months surgery, psychiatric run, and also a community run. So we just thought that as education supervisors, which I'll explain in a minute, that was really important so that you got a broad range of experience no matter where you thought you might end up.
Thanks, Carol. Just see what the next one is. Yeah, so I think that's from us, but obviously we can answer any questions that you've got around runs, run blocks, and all that sort of stuff in the Q&A at the end. I'll hand over to Karen and Carol.
Karen from the Mental Education Training Unit, or METU. So we look after all of your medical council requirements, your pathway through your first 2 years, and also after that through to when you enter into a training program. So we do all your education and training. So we have lots of initiatives in place to support you through those first 2 years whilst you're doing your registration, and then ongoing until you hit until you apply and get into a vocational training program. So we're a smallish team, but we are supported by a great team of 15 educational supervisors, which Carol is here today to talk to you as well. So Carol will tell you a bit about the supervision and what you do here.
So everyone that comes to the CDHB appointed an education supervisor, and that is where there's a range of different consultants that do that job, and I'm one of them. And that's someone that you meet with at the beginning when you first come and start here, and then at the end of each of your runs through the first 2 years. And I suppose I'd say that we've got two roles. We provide quite a lot of pastoral care. So if there's something that you need extra support with, or something you're just not sure how to organise, we're a really good point of contact. And we're also making sure that you are keeping on top of the medical council requirements that you need to do to get your full registration. I love doing this job because I get to spend time chatting with young enthusiastic doctors, but it's not something that was in place when I was a house surgeon, and I just think it's so fantastic because it just gives you someone that's kind of looking out for you through those first 2 years. As well as that, you'll always have a clinical supervisor, so that's the person that or consultants that you're working with on the run, and they have things that they need to do in terms of making sure that you're orientated to the run and that you're getting feedback during your time on the run.
It's worth pointing out too, a point of difference that we have is that once you've finished those first 2 years and you have your general registration, we actually appoint, you stay with an educational supervisor. So you get either a new educational supervisor or the same one right through until you hit vocational training, so that there's always somebody to provide that pastoral support and is helping you with your vocational pathway. So in the video, several people mentioned, we have a teaching program and we have some great facilities. And so our PGY1 specific teaching is every Wednesday from 3:30 till 5. And then our PGY2 teaching is every Thursday lunchtime from 12:30 to 1:15. So in our teaching, we have a wide variety. We like to focus on a wide variety of different topics, but also bringing into play scenarios as well. So we have a lot of different kinds of scenarios. So we do rapid fire scenarios, we do sick and deteriorating patient scenarios. Bearwood and Hill Morton both also have site-specific scenarios at those places. And GenMed also do the same now as well. And also in collaboration with MIHI, we do a great course that's a continuation of your studies of the Mahana model at university. So scenario training is really big. As practical skills sessions. So we try to get in as many of these as we can in a year. So what we have regularly on our timetable is nasogastric tube placement, ultrasound guided IV placement, ophthalmology, we do eyelid infusions. So and suturing is always a really great one to keep the skills up. And we do workshops as well. So there's serious illness conversation guide, which is held each year. Pharmacy do some really good workshops with you as well as other more soft skills like wellbeing and conflict management as well. Of course, the important part when you start with us is your orientation, that you get those in those first few the first few days before you start on the wards. So there's 4 days from the 9th to 12th of January. And those 4 days are pretty intense. We do lots of different sessions, but the great ones are the CTCs. We spend time with them, quite a lot of time with them, going through how they work and how you can utilise those to the best. The House Officer Survivor Guide, so spending time with the House Officers, they tell you hacks and things like that. And the other thing which is great is our expo, so that's what that picture is there. So we get all this at orientation each year, there's always lots of people that, lots of information that we want to share and people want to share with you. And the expo is a really good way of getting everybody together. So instead of them didactically giving you this information about what they do, it's an interactive session where you can kind of go around and talk to them. They have these stands, a lot of them are interactive. So you can kind of go around, meet people, get some context, have a look at what they do, their specific service. And that's always good fun. And the last day of the orientation is spent in the service in which you're going to be starting on Monday. So you get to spend a whole day, so the house officer that's currently there can hand over to you, and you get to kind of meet people. And so that first day on the ward isn't quite so intimidating, and you know some people and you know what you're up for. And as Ashley was, in that video was had on as her checkmate lanyard. So that's one of the initiatives that we have here, which is we have about, I think there's about 70 at the moment, 70 or 80 RMOs that have a checkmate lanyard. And they're RMOs that remember what it's like to start. Remember, you've already asked one person the same question several times and you need to ask somebody else again. So anyone with a checkmate, I mean, to be honest, anybody around the place is more than happy to answer your questions, but you can always approach someone that's got that lanyard on and they're a checkmate, and they're happy to, they'll put their hand up and say, hey, ask me. I'm more than happy to be asked all the questions you like. And there are also a few other things that we do is we have the RMO of the month. So that's always a great initiative between the METU and RDST. We have the RMO training committee, which you're always invited to apply for and join. We have end-to-run evaluations, so we really take your feedback from each run really seriously and provide feedback to the services on that. Each year we have a vocational pathways evening where we get together specialists, consultants, as well as those that are in training together in a sort of a social setting, so that you can kind of talk to them and find out and ask those hard questions about various vocational pathways. And of course we have a weekly newsletter, which is how we keep in touch with you between us and RDST. It's how we keep in touch with you on a weekly basis to let you know what you need to know and what's happening and what the teaching is each week and those sorts of bits of information.
I think that's probably our turn now.
It is.
Thanks, guys. I didn't realise how in-depth that presentation was. So I guess our job now is just as the guys on the ground to sort of repeat the best parts of it and see what it's like actually in the day of one of the ones experiencing it. So we added a few funnies on there. You guys will be very familiar with situations like this when you get to next year, but it's not as scary as The Shining, I don't think. So we're talking about just a bit about Christchurch and the actual city. It's a great place to live. Personally, my flat's halfway between the hospital and the Port Hills. So depending on whether I feel like going to work for the day or mountain biking instead, it's only a 10-minute commute to sort of get there. At the same time, you've got beaches around Sumner Beach, Taylor's Mistake, where there's a whole bunch of surfing, cafes, trail runs, walks. The city itself is pretty neat as well. The city centre is getting more and more developed. So there's, if you ask someone for a list of places to go for dinner, you'll easily get like 20 good options. Yeah, those continue through to winter as well. There's more hobbies like skiing comes up with Mount Hutt and all the club ski fields as well. And the rest of the Alps, like Arthur's Pass and multi-day hikes and things like that if you're into that too. One of the other things which will be super exciting when it gets happening, and I think it'll be there when you guys start, is that next year there's this massive pool and gym complex that's going to be opening literally across the road from the hospital, which will be make it a whole lot easier to get that work-life balance sort of exercise stuff managed. So I think we also get a discount to the council gym memberships through CDHB as well. And the city is relatively cheap rent as well, easy to find accommodation for a reasonable price. My place has a spa pool and things, and I think we're paying $130 a week. So it really puts places like Auckland and Wellington to shame.
So might be a few of you experiencing this next year, but there's always help around. So I'm going to talk about the hospital. Actually, I just had a thought from what Callum said is the CDHB has lots of different discounts, especially wellbeing. I personally love the Lululemon discount. And we have a Lululemon in Christchurch, so come on down.
Free fries at Burger Fuel as well.
Yeah.
I don't even know any of them.
So yeah, there's a newly built tower called Waitaha, which hosts all the most of the surgical specialties, some of the stroke and other specialties that I can't remember right now, but it's really nice to work in. It's new, it's fresh. There's lots of good workspaces for everyone. And just the wide variety of specialties you guys can choose, which is really good. I don't think the smaller hospitals offer as many different specialties, which obviously offers so much learning and training opportunities. And if you feel like, oh, maybe I should go to a small hospital, we have Ashburton and the West Coast, so Christchurch kind of has it all. Personally, I just came back from Ashburton last quarter and really enjoyed it. You definitely get lots of procedural opportunities, lots of learning, and it's a community-based run, but it's got an acute assessment unit, which is sort of like ED if you're interested in that. We have Cortex. Don't know if you guys know about Cortex, but we mostly work from our iPads, and that it's a really great tool that's constantly being improved. We also have MedChart, so you chart everyone's meds on MedChart, and we're not using paper. We've got a new and improved menu at the cafe, and we have a salad bar as well. So great food.
This part's already been said quite to some quite amount of detail, so I won't repeat too much, but the rosters and things are really friendly for us. I think that thing about the weekends, I think it's average 1 in 7 weekends, which means that I'm now 4 months into my first year and I've worked 1 single weekend, which is a whole lot better than a lot of my colleagues have up in other centres. And I'm not going to work a weekend until third quarter, I think, just because the runs have been on. So it's great for work-life balance and sort of predictability of things as well. It doesn't mention on this side as well, but there's a large intake of junior doctors as well. I'm not sure what the exact numbers are like, but I think it's one of the biggest in the country. So you have lots and lots of colleagues that you're working with in the same rooms as well, since you're often by each other. So you have plenty of mates and support around from minute to minute, sort of on the wards as well.
Just if we're talking about RDST, despite it being a big hospital with quite a few RMOs, the RDST sort of have like an open door policy. If you're wanting to just pop down there, if you've got time, you can go and chat to them. If you're wanting some leave, they'll pull up the rosters for you and go through everything for you.
And they're right next to the cafe as well, so it's very easy to find time. Just pop down on the way back from lunch or the way to lunch or whatever.
Wonder if I should just mention there's that middle point there, which is quite a good one. And that's about the nights. So just to let you guys know that technically you don't do nights in the first 6 months as a PGY1, unless your first run is in general medicine. And if it is, that means you are able to commence nights from the start of quarter 2. But yeah, if you don't do GenMed first, then it's 6 months, it'll be Q3 before you start.
Yeah, I think lots of people have found it as a good thing as well. So a lot of my friends thought nights were a good learning opportunity, so they requested GenMed first, and I think most of them got it happily as well.
So just go with our main theme. We don't need to call radiology to approve any of our scans. I know I've heard from a lot of my colleagues that they battle radiology and other centres to approve scans and constantly get calls about it. So we just order online and the scan happens, we follow up the result. We don't need to speak to the radiologist unless it's quite rare. I think I've spoken to one radiologist about a scan I've ordered in my 1.5 years, so it's really good.
This one. I haven't actually
Have
worked with the CTCs yet. I've done surge first, so I didn't really meet them.
You're in for a treat. The CTCs, as the doctors at the start of the presentation said, they're amazing. So basically, on a duty shift, if medical or surgical, all communication from the nursing staff goes through the CTCs, and then they're your only port of call for all jobs. So there's super experienced registered nurses, and they sort of take a lot of our workload and sort everything. They triage it, and they'll send you jobs on Cortex that need doing, and you're not kind of sorting through 50 calls and messages about things that shouldn't really be dealt with on a duty shift. So the CTCs are super supportive. They try and deal with everything before you get to it, so that it's only really just the medical doctor side of things that you're dealing with. They can put in catheters, they can take bloods, they can put lines in, they can kind of do a lot of that procedural stuff as well, which saves you time to kind of do the patient reviews and things like that.
Yeah, I think it means that it's not often you're feeling too out of your depth in the after hours shifts as well. Like the only time I've really spoken to them is if you're like missing that second or third IV line and needed an ultrasound or something. It means instead of just having to call on the duty anaesthetist or wake someone up, you've got the CTC who's super approachable and friendly and fielding calls all day. So yeah, they're a great resource to have after us.
And you can also bounce ideas off them because they're so experienced. Say, oh, I've got a patient, this is this, and they can give you advice or say you should escalate that, or just even someone to just bounce an idea off.
Yeah, we have quite a robust training timetable here as well. There's the standard METU teaching, which happens every week. You have, I think it's an hour, maybe an hour and a half each week, every Wednesday, which is supposed to be protected teaching time, where you have all of those timetabled tutorials about things that come up, but you also have those simulations and things as well. Some of them, well, they're all really good, but some of them are phenomenal. Like we just had an ultrasound guided line one recently, which I think was a huge hit. And most of the different specialties have their own teaching timetables in addition to that as well. I know general surgery and psychiatry at least all have at least an hour or two a week in addition to the METU timetable, which gives you about 4 hours a week of teaching on a good week, which is a great resource to have. I mean, you're constantly staying up to date and learning new things. And yeah, as a big hospital, you have a lot of people from all the different subspecialties as well are good to bounce ideas and plans off if you need to too.
And the thing is, registrars here are really good at taking your pager when you're meant to be at teaching and just saying, and saying that it's protected, it is protected, and you can get to teach. But be busy.
Thanks, guys. That was great. So I think that's us, Beth. So I think it's Q&A, is that right? Or
Yeah, it's a Q&A now. However, we don't see any questions yet at the Q&A function in Zoom. But yeah, I just want to ask as well on how to contact you, who to contact to in case that our attendees have specific question for Christchurch Hospital to discuss further opportunities maybe.
yeah, sure. So we've got a generic email address in RDST. So hopefully it's pretty straightforward. I can give it to you, Beth, if you wanted to share it, but it is just simply RDST at cdhb.health.nz. So if you've got any general queries, you're welcome to email there and we can direct it through to the right person and grab you an answer.
Okay, there's a question here. Does Christchurch do an interview process as a part of the application?
No, we don't do an interview process for PGY1 positions.
Okay, second question is, can I ask how competitive the application process typically is? Will most people who apply get offered a position?
That's actually a challenging one. I don't actually know what I'm involved each year in the ranking of the candidates, and I couldn't tell you. I could probably go back and look. I think what we do is we get a big matrix that sorts people by a score, and we go down to a sort of minimum selection criteria for us. I think it depends on each year. Sometimes we're quite popular, other times we're not as popular, but I think generally Canterbury has quite a good reputation. So, I mean, it just depends how you score as to whether you're going to get the position here.
Those stats are all released on the ACE website as well. I was looking earlier for the 2021 jobs, there was, I think, 60 something positions and 50 people with first choice applications. So that.
Okay, third question. How many long days a week would you do? And do you have good support from the long day after the daytime hours?
So that just depends on what run you're on, really. Like, for example, the run that Callum's on at the moment has no long days at all because they don't do any after hours work unless they want to pick some jobs up and get paid lots of money. But the hours, the most you can do, I think, is 2 long days, isn't it? So some runs will have 2 long days, but it's all kind of really prescribed from the MECA. And unlike when I was a RMO, the RDST are very good at making sure your rosters comply with the MECA.
Okay, another question. Yeah.
Just to answer do you have good support from the long day reg? Yes. So whether you're medical or surgical, you have a reg to speak to. But you have the CTC, you can bounce ideas off. The reg is always available as well. And they're very supportive. So yeah.
And there's not many departments where you have to go straight to the on-call consultant as well. There's almost always a registrar that you bounce things off after hours.
Okay. Another question for students who have emailed regarding how to stand out. Example, should we pop up for a chat? When should we expect to receive an answer?
So I'm quite strict on this one. I think just in fairness to people that are not located in Canterbury, we ask people to not come down to the office. We see this ACE webinar as your opportunity to ask questions and engage with us. And you find out on National Offer Day when you've been placed to Canterbury, so you'd receive an offer from us.
Can I please know how much detail do you like in the cover letter?
I mean, I think Brooke sort of touched on that at the start of the webinar. It's your opportunity to tell us why you'd like to live in Canterbury, essentially, and anything else that you might see as relevant for your application, such as if you've got a partner that's also a PGY1, or anything else you'd like us to know. So it's completely up to you.
You wouldn't want it more than a page, would you?
Oh, yes, sorry, we would. Yeah, a page is a good reference. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
What is the scoring based on?
The scoring is made up of your references. Trying
trying to remember, last year they discounted awards, is that correct? I think that's due to COVID. What else made up of Beth? You'd probably be able to answer that better than us, didn't you?
I think they are referring to how do you score them in terms of your employer's assessment and ranking.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we take essentially ACE provides us like a matrix scoring. We do put a lot of emphasis on professionalism here at Canterbury. We find that is one of the most important areas that we score on, but we don't manipulate the matrix much, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like it if candidates who are especially keen for Christchurch drop by? I think you have already answered this one. So yes. Could you please provide an indication about the split between Otago and Auckland PGY1 students? Do Otago students have preference over Auckland students for PGY1 jobs?
Not anymore. They used to, but they didn't last year.
And I would say that we're always very impressed with the Auckland people there. They seem to, I think I've got several Auckland graduates that I'm education supervisor for, and they seem to find it pretty easy to fit in. And I don't think they feel like, oh, I'm an outsider because I didn't train here.
In your opinion, is it also helpful having trainee interns as Christchurch is part of Otago Medical School?
Does that mean, I'm assuming that's meaning is it helpful if you completed your TI year here? That's not essential. So I mean, obviously it's helpful because you've worked here before and you might be able to locate areas better, but it's not essential and it's not a requirement to gain a position at Canterbury.
Okay. Are Christchurch-based TI students favored in the ranking process?
No.
What are the main specialty training programs in Canterbury? Where can we find this information?
I would say we've probably got every training that you would want to do because we are a really big tertiary centre. And the METU staff have actually put a really good booklet together, which are all the different requirements to get into each training. All the main specialty training programs are definitely here. I suppose there's some really niche. I'm just thinking one of my registrars who wanted to do pediatric psychiatric consult had to go to Starship for 6 months because he couldn't do that here. So there'll be some very niche things that aren't available here, but that would often be just, I suppose, more advanced training or subspecialized training. We definitely have all of the main training programs here.
If you want some more specific information about various departments, if you go onto the CDHB career page, there's a section for RMOs, and under that there's a specialist option where you can click into each service and they tell you about the number of trainees in each service and the SMOs and a little bit about the service size.
Okay, next question. How easy or difficult is it to apply for a leave when required?
Kelly will answer that.
Yeah. Well, I've applied for 3 weeks and a day's worth of leave so far. I've only had 1 day denied so far. One of them did require coming down and talking to people and looking at the roster to get it. But that's 3 weeks out of 3 weeks and 1 day so far is pretty good. Because I think it's stretched to begin with when I apply. But usually pretty reasonable. I'm not sure what your experience is like.
Yeah, no, really good. I've actually got 5 weeks approved at the end of Q3, starting Q4. And I personally have had colleagues who have said that their RMO units have declined all leave for the rest of this year. So I think RDST are really reasonable. I had a day declined and I just spoke to RDST, my reasons why I needed it off, and they approved it. So they do really try and help you within your personal life as well. If you need leave for something, they're super reasonable.
And I mean, obviously RDST would love to give everyone leave whenever they wanted it, but they can't because they need to be providing clinical cover, but they really do their best to do that. And they are really struggles in their personal life or at work. I've been really amazed doing this job, just the number of things that can be done to help support people that might need support, like part-time working, coming off call, being offered extra sick leave, just like that. I think that what's really impressed me with RDST is how they're really focused on your well-being, and because I suppose we all know that people work better when they're looked after, and that's really obvious to me.
Another cool thing about Christchurch is they have a run called Night Selective. Can you do that in PGY?
So that's available to third years, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, if you really want to do a specialty or something really competitive that you couldn't get during a normal run, you can choose to do Night Selective, where you do half night shift. Basically make your own day job for the rest of the other half. So surgery or ophthalmology or something like that, radiology, you can choose to do that, which is really cool.
Gonna say, guys, thanks for the props. I'll slip you that payment later. I was just gonna say, from a roster's perspective, yeah, we certainly try our hardest. Two things: if you're really organized, you won't have a problem getting leave. So, you know, once you obtain a position here, we send you a leave form, a template, and the sooner you get those in, the better the chance of getting your leave approved. And hopefully, yeah, we've made it pretty clear. We've got a big open door policy. The easiest way, come in, look at the rosters with us, and we can make it work, especially if you're flexible. So,
on the other thing, the Christmas leave has changed.
yes.
So it's fair for everyone. It's not just like first in, first served, which is.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, we started a Christmas leave ballot a few years ago now. So we look at, you know, who had previous years off and all that sort of stuff, rather than being a first in, first served basis.
Okay, there's another interesting question here. Do you require RMOs to complete a specific number of ad duties, cover and crossover?
Well,
what is the pay like for this?
God, I wish I could say that.
Yeah.
No.
We require you to do extra work, so that's definitely not a requirement. Of course, you're asked to do extra work because we have shortages, but that's definitely not a requirement. And while some people might see the emails and texts as a little bit of pressure, I don't think individually there's much pressure put on people. The rates are as per the MECA, which are absolutely astonishing. I'm kind of thinking I might do some house surgeon nights. They're paid very well for the extra duties.
Yeah, there's no pressure. You get an email each day. I see it as an opportunity to make money.
Okay.
Almost to fight for some of them sometimes, I think.
Yeah, so definitely you're not asked to do them.
I think probably the only requirement around run, and just check me if I'm wrong here, is that I think you need to be present in a run for roughly 10 weeks. So it allows you 3 weeks off, whether that be personal, like planned leave, or if you need to take personal leave. I know educational supervisors can be really flexible around that sort of 10-week mark, just depending on situation. But that's really your one requirement to be in the run. There's no requirements around additional duties or cross cover.
And that requirement is a medical council requirement. No.
Okay. Another one, does having a previous degree help in ranking?
I do not believe it counted for rankings last year. The mature students do really well here, but no, it's not counted towards points.
Okay. Another question that sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Beth, I just wanted to clarify this, that third last question about dropping in. So it's been asked a couple of times, but just to clarify, it's not that we don't want to see you, it's that we like to be very fair. If you're located in Auckland, I don't think it's fair for us to spend half an hour talking to you. Located in Canterbury, it's not fair for us to take half an hour out of our day to provide you information, and it's not going to change the rankings. So it's not like someone's going to come in and talk to us and then I'm going to write their name down and then single them out on the rankings. It's just not how it works. So when we actually go through the first lot of rankings, we remove the names, so we don't even look at anybody's name when we first look at them, just to be fair.
Okay.
And once you've got a job with us, we really like you dropping in.
Oh yeah, once you sign that letter of offer, come on in.
Okay. So I'd like also to ask this question because I've been receiving a lot of queries about this one. Although on the ACE perspective, we encourage our applicants to, as much as possible, provide 3 references from 3 different placements. However, there are some students who are in a situation where they have difficulty securing 3 references from 3 different placements, and they are only the only options that they get is that they could provide 2 referees from one placement, and another one from another placement. So does it affect your assessment or ranking system with this kind of situation?
I'll be honest, no, it does not impact your scoring. We would just prefer a broad range of references, but it does not impact your scoring, no.
So yeah, that's it so far. I think we were able to cover a lot of information and we were able to answer all the questions. And yeah, is there any other tips, advice from our RMOs as to the application, ACE application of our applicants based on your previous experience?
Just from my personal experience, I feel like Christchurch really liked to, from your cover letter, sort of like get to know you as a person. So like what you like to do outside of work. Yeah, like Amanda said, if you have a house in Christchurch, or you're looking to buy a house, or you've got a partner, things like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess we like you having a support system here. So not to say if your support system's in Auckland that you wouldn't get a job, but if you're saying, hey, I'm from Canterbury or I've got a partner here, then obviously we want you to have a support system around you, especially for your first year.
We want doctors to stay here because we
Yeah.
need registrars and we need consultants. And so obviously if you've got a tie to Christchurch, you might be more likely to stay here.
Very true.
And then Amanda won't be looking for 9 surgical registrars or whatever.
Experience as well. All the RMOs are super approachable and generally quite friendly as well. So if you're a TI and you know people down here, that most of them are pretty happy to chat about what life's like as well. If you want another point of contact stuff person.
Okay, I think we still have one last question here. Do 50 references impact scoring? I think this is in a situation where an applicant is in an elective in their first half year, and their only option is to provide a reference from their second half of their 5th year. So does it impact their application?
No, if ACE accepts the reference, then that wouldn't impact.
Okay. Oh, still more? Okay, another one. Does an elective reference affect scoring?
Is it made up of one of the 3 references? Or is this, if it's made up of one of your 3 references, then you get an average of your reference score across the 3 references, which impacts scoring.
So what elective means if they get the reference from the person they did their elective with.
Yeah. So if it's one of your 3 references, then yes, it does impact your scoring.
I think I do. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Like if you get a good reference from your elective, that's the same as getting a
Yeah.
good reference from someone here.
Yeah.
So that's just treated the same as if it was
Oh,
from
yeah,
a reference.
yeah.
Yeah, I used a reference from my elective and got a job here. So.
That's really good.
I think what would matter more is the result of the reference assessment that they provided, right? Yeah, okay. So that's all. No more further questions. Oh, there's some more. There's another one. So every time I close it, there's another one.
No, that's rank you
I
down.
think it's just the same question. Yeah.
So just treat it like any other reference.
Yeah. Okay. That's all for now. So I really wish everyone, all our applicants, good luck for their application for this intake. And I want to thank you guys, our panelists, for taking time and for giving ACE a full support on this webinar. Guys, thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time and effort spent